Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have as our guest for the Leadership Exchange, Jody Brooks today, who is a Chief Administrative Officer for JEA in Jacksonville and a Cornerstone Class 40 member from the Northeast region. She is going to be fantastic. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for this opportunity.
It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, our podcast sponsor is Sunshine Ace Hardware. And their motto is, as we all know, ACE is the place with the helpful hardware folks. So, Jody, I'm going to ask you with a similar theme. I want you to finish this sentence for me. JEA is the place with.
Well, it's probably not as catchy as Ace Hardware, but JEA is the place with the most dedicated staff that delivers reliable, sustainable services at reasonable rates.
Fair enough and very good. I like that. I think that's great. I don't know if we can put that into a jingle or not. We may need to work on that. Let's talk about JEA. That's what we're talking about today. That's our topic. As succinctly as possible, please give our viewers and listeners kind of a high level overview of JEA, who you are, your size, your reach, your geographic area, your customer base, your mission. Just give us that high level for those who might not know who JEA is.
Yeah, JEA has been Jacksonville's community utility for over 130 years. I've got a long history. We're the largest municipal utility in Florida. We don't make a profit. We're a community-owned utility and one of the largest in the country. We provide both electric and water services and wastewater services to over 1 million residents and businesses in Northeast Florida. We cover all of Jacksonville, Duval County, some Nassau County, Clay County, and St. Johns County territory. We have over 2,200 plus dedicated workers that provide fundamental foundational services to a community and provide the needs for today and planning and for generations to come on the water, wastewater, and electric in this community.
Wow, I had no idea you were that large. That's amazing and provide that many services. All right, so the utility industry is very interesting right now. Um, I'm very interested in it, but I want to know from your perspective, what is hot and trendy and trending even right now? What are you working on that is very important? What's going on at JEA?
So we've got several initiatives, both on the electric and the water front, that we're very excited about. But some of the trending industry stuff going on right now has to do with data centers and providing the utility, electric and water, for data centers to be able to power AI. How are you going to generate that power? How are you going to provide the water needs for the cooling of these facilities and then not impact your other customers? So that dialogue and that debate's been going on for a long time. And then how do you get the power quickly to these data centers? So we're part of that discussion of being a very large utility, but we don't have any specific data center growth right now in Jacksonville. And we've heard from some of the site organizers that Florida and Jacksonville specific, just because of the weather conditions and potential hurricane impacts, we may not see a big data center in our territory, but we have folks that have been reaching out to see if that's something that we could provide if they did locate here. So data centers and being able to provide the utility needs is big industry and nationwide. It's not just a local issue. And then how do you provide it? Do you provide it through continuation of coal plants? Do you provide it with solar generation, which I don't believe that solar has gotten to utility scale that could be able to provide a reliable source of energy? Do you use natural gas plants? Do you use small modular nuclears? They're looking at all the different types of being able to provide the electric needs for these large facilities. AI generation apparently take lots and lots of power, and some places a lot of water to keep the systems cooled. So that's big industry. But as far as just local Jacksonville and Northeast Florida growth, based upon our growth needs, we are building a brand new power plant. We are building a natural gas combined cycle plant that our board approved a few months ago, and it's very exciting to actually see a facility get permitted and constructed. And we bought turbines for put our name in the hat and got in line, and a contract with GE Vernova to buy our turbines and the Power Island equipment. And so we're so excited that we're going to hopefully get the building and the 640 megawatt natural gas power plant online and operational by 2031.
2031. So a few years from now, but still in the works. Good for you.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get one of those facilities built. So we're excited about that. And so that's on the electric side. On the water side, it's always water supply. How are you going to be able to provide over 400,000 customers with 120 million gallons of safe, high quality drinking water every day? That's the numbers of what we provide in the community. And with population growth in the economy, how do we continue to provide for that? So we've got two very exciting projects that we're doing on the water side. In 2023, we started a new facility, the JEA H2.0 Purification Center. It's a state-of-the-art education and research center. Over 1 million gallons of water gets purified at the center, and it'll be a showcase for purification technology, and it'll engage the public and stakeholders in the process. There'll be a visitor center, an education center, a conference area, where we'll be training staff and industry leaders. It's the first of its kind in the state of Florida. And maybe we can host a regional leadership Florida event there when it gets opened.
I love that. Absolutely. I'm going to make a note of that because we're going to call you and that's already. You know, you referred to the term 400,000 customers, and I learned doing my work in disaster work that that's the actual customers, but not the people, right?
Correct.
Right. So this is often misinterpreted when, when you look at the news, they say, well, we have 400, we have 30,000 customers out. Well, that doesn't mean people. It could mean a commercial building that is housing 400 employees, or it could be a family of 6.
Absolutely.
So it's the actual structures, the customer being the one you bill. And a lot of people don't realize that that doesn't mean the total amount of people impacted.
Right.
And it's also often confused with that. So you really are reaching a lot of people in your region.
Yeah, we are foundational to a community. You need clean water to drink, you need the toilets to flush, and you need your lights to turn on. And I don't think everyone understands all of the things that has to happen in order for that to happen for over 1 million accounts. That doesn't mean people. That's accounts on both the electric, water, and wastewater side that we
oh, the total. Wow.
Yeah.
Even bigger. In all of those things you're mentioning, with growth and dealing with making sure the water, electric, all the things you're challenged with, what is not just your industry, but what is JEA's, what would you consider your biggest challenge today?
So regulatory uncertainty is probably one of the biggest challenges. We've got the national, state, and local levels. We're a highly regulated industry, both on the electric side and the water side. And the rules change from time to time. And so like this new combined natural gas plant that we're about to build, we're going to get permitted for that. If the rules changes on emissions midway through, we've already purchased the equipment. So we need some kind of certainty in our business that we just don't have right now on the regulatory uncertainty. And we have lots of folks that, trade organizations and lobbying and lawyers and all sorts of folks that try to help us navigate that. But that's a big one for us to make sure that we've got some kind of certainty that when we do construct something, the board approved this plant's going to be $1.5 billion with a B. And so when you commit to funding something like that, making sure that when you do get it permitted and the regulations in play at the time, that you can continue to operate it the way it was originally permitted to do. The other challenge is keeping our rates as low as possible. There's some challenges right now with between tariffs, prices of goods and services. How do you keep your customers trying to get them the lowest bill and being able to keep their lights and their water flowing? So that's always a challenge when we don't make a profit. We're not we are just there to provide the service, but the cost of the service has to be passed on to the customers. And so that's a big challenge for us right now as well. But
That
one of
is a challenge because we as customers, we want the best technology. We want our power on when we need it, but we don't want, we're budget conscious family
right,
members and businesses as well. So we kind of want both, right? And
right.
there is a lot of cost to staying on top of this technology wise and keeping the equipment up and your physical plant and all the things, and it's something you've got to stay on top of to try to make it reasonable, but stay current.
Exactly. And there's some folks in our, in the Northeast Florida region that their number two bill besides their housing costs is their utility bill. And they have to make decisions on, making sure that they can accommodate their utility needs. And so that's always in the forefront of our customers and making sure we can provide them the lowest cost opportunities, and a reliable source. There's
Yeah.
lots of discussion and dialogue about making sure that folks, they have the power there when they need it. When we had that big cold snap that came through a couple of weeks ago, we didn't hit the all-time peak, but winter peak is harder for us, believe it or not, than Florida because of the difference in the temperatures of your home and your outside condition and the amount of energy it takes in order to heat your home. And so making sure that we, have reliable service to be able to provide for folks, in situations like a storm event or in times of severe weather conditions. But one of the big projects I wanted to talk to you about too, and there's a cost associated with it, is the Water First project. The reclaimed water that we're going to be sending it to a wetland, and it's going to be recharging the aquifer and help with springs and your neck of the woods. It's called Water First. We're partnered with the Suwannee River Water Management District, St. John's, DEP, and other utilities to help provide for restoration of springs and the recharge of the Florida aquifer. And that's a really big undertaking and with something that our board is committed to doing as well. But again, it has a price tag to it. So that's, but from a water resource perspective and the water planning aspects, that's something that we're always working towards to make sure that we have the water supply needs met for our area.
I know people are, they're worried about price always, but that would be something that I would think that your customers support. That is really great that you are diving into that in a big way. That's fantastic to hear. You mentioned something about the recent cold snaps and then in the summer, the heat, and it seems like we're having warmer summers all the time. There's certain things we as individuals can control. We can control like how much shopping we do, what restaurants we choose to go to and how expensive they are. Sometimes how much food we buy, we can't control the price necessarily. We can shop and try to work on that, but we cannot control the weather. And
Absolutely.
we, by and large, need to stay warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And we can decide a little bit about just how warm we stay and a little, how cool we stay. We control some of that. But by and large, that's mostly out of our hands. So that is always top of mind with these changing climates and what we can do with that. So I think it's great that you're trying to stay current, let technology be on top of that, and these resources like you're doing with the creativity around water sources and all. So congratulations for trying to stay on top of that so that we as consumers can try to afford, to stay comfortable in our
Right.
homes and our businesses as well, too. I want to transition to JEA as an employer. What is it like to be an employee of JEA? What is JEA like? How do they treat you as an employee? Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have over 2,200 employees, and we have 5 unions and appointed staff, and we are a family. We treat our employees like family. We're municipal government, and there's a pension opportunity and the benefits. Got really good health insurance, paid time off, all those different benefits. But again, we're foundational in a community, and just that aspect of what we do every day, keeps us coming to work every afternoon or every morning, and we've got such a dedicated, talented staff. Lots of engineers, professional folks, the line maintainers, all the way through the organization. They're very dedicated, and but as far as JEA as an employer, again, we're government. And so there are different things that come along with that. Sometimes we can't pay as well. But I think there are a lot of other benefits to becoming an employee of a government utility, especially of our size and our sophistication. Again, we're the largest in the state of Florida. And so with that has the ability that we can teach others and do things that some of the smaller government utilities can't do for our employees. We have a lot of professional development, succession planning, training opportunities, and apprenticeship programs, and things of that nature that really help us secure employees. We've got a lot of retirees coming up that are eligible for retirement, and so that number makes us a little bit nervous, but it also gives us a nice warm feeling that folks stay here and they retire here because it is such a good place to work.
That is really good to hear. And the fact that you even refer to JEA as a family, that says a lot about who JEA is, and thinking about it like that. And I know, big is not always better, but you're staying flexible and nimble, and government versus private sector, sometimes there's flexibilities, but I think from the team members that I've met, like you and others from JEA, you are very mission driven, and that comes through loud and clear. And I can't say that about all organizations that I'm familiar with. They, but it definitely does come through with the professionals that I've met from JEA. So congratulations on having a real mission-driven employee base, and those retirees, the fact that they're hanging in there, that says a lot. And but succession planning is important as well.
Yep.
This has been a great conversation, Jody. No surprise there. I'm just really thrilled that you accepted our invitation to learn a little bit about JEA. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was a great conversation with Jody Brooks, Chief Administrative Officer of JEA. She's a member of Leadership Florida's Cornerstone Class 40 and in the Northeast region in the Jacksonville area. I loved it when she talked about the fact that JEA has been around for 130 years. I never would have guessed that. And they have more than 2,200 employees. She talked about that one of their priorities is meeting customer needs while also keeping costs low. And she also talks about a very interesting water first project and restoration of springs, which is good to listen to. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Leadership Exchange, hosted by Leadership Florida and sponsored by Sunshine Ace Hardware.